welcome to the Sip and Chat for Love Marlene 411. I am Marlene, and I have a wonderful co host, Miss Nexie, where we talk about topics every single week. Every single week, we talk about different topics, and today it's going to be a great one. Today, we're going to be talking about manners, courtesy, and keeping your word. All of these things are important things. I have put the link into the chat. And of course, before I get started, what are you loves drinking today? What are you sipping on? It's the last day of November. Tomorrow is December. What's your sippy sip of choice? Nothing. I just got good old fashioned cold water. I got good old fashioned cold water over here. So let me remove my little banner thing and add my co-host. Hello, Miss
Hello,
Nancy.
Marlene. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. And I'm over here waiting for you. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, and that's what you saw. I changed the time.
Yeah, and I've been waiting. I left a message. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, did I not message her? And then I went back and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to message her.
yeah. That's what I was
One
like.
of
Okay,
those
I'll just
days.
wait. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're here. So, Miss Nixie, what are you
Okay,
sipping on?
so I'm sipping on a nice, hot, warm coffee.
Oh,
Vanilla,
oh,
okay? Not the black
oh,
thing that everybody has. No, no, no.
no.
Just, regular half and half with I put a little bit of pepper. I got a candy cane and stir it with it and it tastes so good.
I know. I've heard
I've
people
never done
say
that
that.
before.
I've
So
heard a
that's what
lot
I
of
did.
people say that. You know that they have what is it called? Peppermint creamer.
I've never had that. So for me, because I don't like the sweetness of those creamers, so I like plain half and half, or just a
Oh,
little
okay.
dab of milk in it. But I never had those peppermint ones. So I saw the little candy cane. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me see what this does. And it tastes so good. It woke me up, actually. But it's
Well, good.
delicious. It's delicious. How have you
Well,
been?
I am doing fabulous because it's the last day, and next month is December. Tomorrow is
Tomorrow
December.
is December. Well, I'll see you. I'll see you in December then.
I'll see you in December next week.
I'll see you in December. I'll talk to you in December.
Oh, okay. That's because that's so far away.
Exactly. I know. Tomorrow is this. Can you believe this, Marlene? Time has flied
I
so fast.
I can't believe it because I felt like it was just June, and now here we are at December.
I actually I felt like it was April. That's like I remember thinking in April. Oh my God, we're already in April. And then fast forward, I don't know what happened. And here we are thinking of, oh my God, we're in December.
I know. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah, it's been flying so fast.
Yes, and
It
I've been
is.
enjoying
So,
all
what's
of.
our topic today?
Today our topic is manners, courtesy, and keeping our word. Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted you to say it. I read it, but I was like, I need to hear it too.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into talking about that. So first, I'm gonna start off by saying how I was raised. Back in the day, it was like the order of the day. People just, when you saw people, you greeted people. Guys. It sounds like so old fashioned, but guys used to tip their hat. They would open the door for you. I guess you could call that chivalry. Um, and
Mm.
and courtesy, and people would just smile at you, and people actually wore clothing that covered up their body. It wasn't that long ago. Like, I'm not that old. But it's like times have definitely changed to where, like, if you say hello to people, people look at you like you're a weirdo. When you say thank you, people say, what did you say? Like, it's like you're strange when you're just a respectful person. Or is this like something strange or weird to expect people to have manners, courtesy, and to keep their word?
Yeah. Imagine adding years to you. You saw that connection was messed up right there, right? I said the time, but the connection didn't work. Imagine adding a few, a couple of months to your years from my part. We had, the courtship, right? If
Hmm.
a gentleman will come, pick you up, of course he will come all the way up to your house, knock on your door, and and talk to you in front of your house or take you out somewhere. It will be that courtesy. And um you get up out into the neighborhood, and again, I was raised just like you, Marlene. Good morning to my dad, regardless of you know what it is. You just say good morning, dad, good afternoon, dad, and good morning to my siblings as well. He always raised us like that. And I think it was more like my sister implementing those things, because she was like, the mom of the house. But we grew up, and I brought my kids up the same way. They see me in the morning, good morning, mom. Hey, mom, good afternoon, mom. And I grew up as well as, and I'm all over the place right now, but I wanted to go back to what you started with, which is how we grew up. And we also grew up with, when somebody serves you food, thank you for the meal, and
Hmm.
picking up your plate, putting it away. If you don't wash it, put it in the sink, whatever. But we were grateful that that person fed us, thank you for the meal. And if we will go outside and we saw one of our neighbors, hello, Mrs. So and so, or hello, Miss So and so.
Yeah.
It wasn't as like, oh, side
Yeah.
eye, not even
Or,
greeting
or
people
they don't even look up. They just look down and go straight to their car.
to their phones, because that's
Yeah.
most of the time. But for us, it was more like, we knew our neighbors, and our neighborhood per se was a small block, but still we were always very, like, if we got on a bus to go somewhere, we will say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it was, pay our our fee and sit down and say hi to the person next to us. Right now, you're lucky if the bus driver even acknowledges that you get in there, because I had not taken a bus in so long, Marlene, and I took one the other day, and I was, first, I didn't know, like, okay, do I say anything? Do I stay quiet? So I
Yeah.
saw everybody's behavior and I just follow. But nowadays, none of those things are in place anymore. And it saddens me.
Yes, exactly. Hold on one second, Nexie. Hi, retirement. How are you doing? Hi, James. Okay. I just wanted
Hmm.
to greet them.
Yeah, of course. But all those things right now, Marlene, are non-existent. My neighbors here, I say hi, bye. They've known me for a long time. But other than that, there's no relationship. They don't look out, like they don't come to your house and say hi like we used to before, right? Kids
Yeah.
don't play with each other. At the stores, the cashiers, they don't even greet you. It's
No.
so
Oh,
weird.
yeah. It's like this. Like, you stand in the line. They don't even look at you. They just start scanning your groceries, and you're like, hello,
Yeah,
and they're looking at you like, what?
I know. Did you say
Oh,
something? Did you say something? That's what they ask me sometimes. Did you say something? I say, yeah, I said hello. Oh, hi. Oh, I said, yeah, I said good afternoon. They're like, oh, good afternoon. And they look back down. It's like, okay, what's going on
yeah.
here?
Honestly, I was talking to my friend who is in the same age group as me. I think, with the social media and the TV, people are just have no focus, and it has made people like socially awkward.
You know, that's part of it, but I feel that I don't know. I don't want to blame it on, our next generation, right? But at the same time, since everything starts at home, I guess, right? Because that's where you start getting this training, because it is a kind of a training, or this customs, or this good manners, as we're gonna call
Yeah.
them, right? It's at home that you start, and I feel that because a lot of people, they're at work, they're doing their thing, and they want to be, with the times or whatever, they have forgotten to teach their kids. Now, think about that. We were probably the last. You, because you're younger than me, were probably the last generation.
What did they say? The last of the Mohicans?
Yeah, the last of the Mohicans. Yeah, that had this upbringing. Like, now going forward, technology and everything gets on the way. The It's different. It's different. People are not, greeting even at home, Marlene. There's a family of six. They're all in their rooms texting each other.
Well, listen, Nancy, I can't even say I haven't done it because I was like, can you get me a cup of water from the fridge?
But that's because that's how you know that they respond to you.
Yeah,
If you
because
will
because
get
if I
up and
if I
say,
say if I say hello, anybody there? Everybody, not one thing. But if I text, it's like 1 second later. Sure. Oh.
my kids, when technology started, my kids are, 90s kids, right?
Hmm.
And I remember when, we would sit at the table, every dinner, because we worked. So every time, dinner time came, we all sat at the table. We'll talk about everything. And at the table was where my 5-year-old son said that he was about to change his name, and he said that he wanted to be called Komodo Dragon. I'm sorry. So we were about to make that birth certificate change. And so we used to have those conversations, Marlene, and whatever. When cell phones started coming out, and the kids started getting, those little cell phones. I'm sorry about that. When the cell phones started coming up, and kids had them, I made a rule, and to this day is still in place, is that I had a little basket, and a
Hmm.
little plastic basket. All the cell phones will be put right there when we were having dinner, or we were having lunch, or we were having breakfast. Nobody was allowed to do that. And you dare break that rule. Mama don't play that. So we got used to that. So when we're together, even to this day, when we're all together having dinner or lunch or just talking, the phones are on the side. We got used to that. So I'm hoping that, my kids follow that tradition, that at least at the dinner table,
Yeah.
have their kids put their cell phones, or whatever device they have, if they have to have it, put it on the side and talk to them. And that's how we found out about the day. And for the longest time, my kids wanted to get me used to texting, and I will not respond. And they'll be like, Mom, you know how to do it. I say, yes, I know. But why do that when I can talk to you at dinner if it's not an emergency? We can talk. And so I restrained them from that as they were growing up. Now, because they're grown ups and gone, yes, we communicate a lot with text now, because everybody's in their own home, they're married, and either they call me, but if they know that I'm busy, then they text me. But we still have that, tradition of mom home, we're eating, cell phones on the side.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that irritates me when you're around somebody and you're talking to them and they're just scrolling on their phone and you're like, and so that's when I just start saying some crazy stuff. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna shave all my hair off and I'm gonna join a monastery. And oh, okay, that's good. It's just like that's how I know that they're not listening to me.
I had a lunch date, set up with someone, and I went there, and this is my first time meeting this person. Okay, so I get there and I text this person to see where they were at, and I got there. I sit down, put my phone in my purse, and I'm over there, and they're presenting me certain things, right? They wanted to show me, but the thing is that this person was talking to me, continue to look at its phone and
Mm.
scrolling it and talking to me, explaining the product or whatever this person was doing, right? And I'm over there like, are we gonna order something, because I want to get back to work, and oh yeah, 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 here's the menu, and with the face down to the phone, gave me the menu. um I
No
said
eye
okay,
contact.
and I grabbed the menu, Marlene. I ordered my lunch. What this person didn't hear is that I ordered it to go.
Mm.
So I told the girl, to go, like quietly to go. And she's like, okay, I got you. So I got my lunch, whatever, and I continue to ask questions. And I'm telling you, Marlene, I counted it 5 times in the 45 minutes that we were sitting there, because as I got there, by the time I got my lunch or whatever, it had transpired probably like 40 minutes. Yeah,
Mm.
about 40 minutes, because it was really packed. So I'm asking questions, and oh yeah, it's right there, is this and that, looked at me, and then went back to the phone. So when my lunch came, the girl just signaled me, and then I got up, grabbed my purse, went and got my lunch, left. This person didn't call me until probably like 15 minutes after I had left.
Wow.
Oh my God, I'm still waiting for you at the table. I'm like, oh, I left. I figured you had no interest on selling me, or convincing me of that particular product. I said I was there for a very long time. And I said, so, next time just send me the paperwork. No, 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 I can go to your office. I'll bring lunch next time. Nope, don't even bother. And we got another rep, because those are manners that you shouldn't forget. You know what I mean? Especially if you're trying to sell something.
Yeah, my dad always said that from I was a little girl, that you look at people in their eyes when you're talking to them. Like if you look to the side or you're looking down or you're distracted doing something, you show people you're not interested or you don't care about whatever. You don't want to be there with them.
Exactly. Exactly, Marlene. And the fact that it took this person, and I put the timer on my phone, the little clock thing to keep on going, because I wanted to see how long it will take him to realize that it wasn't there anymore. And this is a rep of a company that needed to sell this particular product. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say the name, of course, but it was an
Yeah.
important meeting for them too. So for this person to just complete, and it was a young kid too, which is why I didn't say anything to his boss or anything, because I felt bad. I was like, I don't want him to get in trouble, or get let go or whatever. So I kept it to myself, but I did give him a piece of my mind. And I said, the next customer you go see, I said, take it from an old lady, if you want to call it old school. I said, look at them in the face, be present, make sure you treat them like royalty, because you're the one who needs this customer. I don't need you. I have options.
Yeah.
And he apologized. He sent me flowers. He thanked me, and I am very, very sorry. You sure you don't want to do it again? I can come to your office. And I said, nope. For me, first impressions are
Yeah.
golden.
Yeah. I always say that you never get a second chance to make a first impression, so make your first one a lasting one.
All I need, and I don't give seconds.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I know I didn't put that in the title, but let's talk about chivalry. Um, it also sounds like something from the dark ages. Are people actually chivalrous anymore?
It's
I
it's
do
it's
I
the
do
dead.
remember that. I remember seeing my dad actually always, my mom was never allowed to touch the door. My dad had to go around, open the door for her. The same thing when she went in any building, my dad opened it for her. And even something like a lot of people don't know that you don't do. But as a man, when you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, you're supposed to take your hat off. It's a lot of things. I see people sitting in restaurants with their hat on. I'm like, what are you doing? That's disrespectful. But some people don't know that.
Yeah, the simple, Marlene, the simple pulling off the chair when you're about to sit down as a lady. Men used to do that. They used to pull your chair so you could sit down and then pull it in so that you can get comfortable.
Hmm.
They don't do that. They go in front of you. They open the door.
Yeah,
They're
and that
looking at,
door will swing back in your
yeah,
face.
in your face. They're looking at the menu. By the time you're like, did he just do that?
Yeah. I actually saw my dad every time my dad pulled out the chair and my mom would sit down and he would take the napkin and place it in her lap.
Yeah,
I
those things
and
are,
I used
are
to think that I was like, that's weird. I was like, why is he putting it? And then when I got older, I was like, oh, and my mom said, that, my dear, is romance. I was like, well, I don't know about it.
you're like, oh, la, 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 bleh, no,
I
no,
was like,
no, no,
oh,
no, no.
yuck, disgusting. I'm not hungry anymore.
Oop, I'm tasting it right now, Mom. Don't. I'm tasting
Yeah,
romance.
please.
Nope. But those were things that were so, again, with the times, right? A lot of things have changed drastically over time, but drastically. I've seen a lot of couples. You start sitting down and watching, people watching, as they call it. But I've seen a lot of times that um they're not even waiting for the person that they're in a date with. They're just walking ahead, or
Mhm.
they're with a person, sometimes holding hands, and they're on the right with their cell phone. They're not even in the moment.
Yeah.
you
And
know
what?
they're they
Yeah.
find a seat, they sit down. They don't even offer it to the to the person that they're with, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. I actually have seen it and I was like, oh my goodness. Here's another thing that's gonna age myself. When we used to back in the day when you get on a bus and if an older person, a disabled person, or somebody pregnant, a man always got up.
Yes. Yes, they did. Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
you would say, please have a seat.
Yes,
Now
I.
they'll just be like whatever.
There's no more gentlemen's in this
Yeah.
bus, a lady said, and a man responded, "Oh, there is gentlemen in this bus. What we don't have anymore is seats."
Wow.
Yes, I heard that. I was like, oh,
Wow.
I was
Mm.
like, oh my god. I remember traveling on the bus with my belly, and I will get 2 to 3 offerings, like sit here. People will get up, and once I was on the bus. That this time I'm telling you, I've taken it like 4 times by now. But there's one time I was on the bus, and a lady, a young girl, actually got up for a pregnant woman to sit down. Not
Mm.
one of the gentlemen or the guys that were sitting there, or men, whatever you want to call them, none of them got up for the lady to sit down. A young girl had to get up with her backpack and everything and offer the seat
Yeah.
to her. I was all the way in the back. Otherwise I would have, if I would have been in the front, I would have gotten up and said, sit down, right? But no, the young girl had to, because none of the men that were there got up. They started going on their phones, or they looked away. It was like, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately, we can't always blame it on the parenting styles, but sometimes a lot of parents don't raise their children for that sort of respect. To
Mm-hmm.
respect, like older people, pregnant people, disabled people, have that common courtesy, like going out of your way to help somebody else. Like, what does it take to open up the door or to offer somebody your seat or something like that, or especially, or a child, something like that. it doesn't take a lot to be courteous, but I do think that it's very important that, conversations like this happen. A lot of times parents just, maybe they didn't weren't raised. They weren't taught how to be courteous. They weren't taught to,
Mhm.
do these things, but somebody has to do it.
That was what I was about to say, that sometimes you're not taught these things. You don't grow up seeing, like you said, your dad pulling the chair, your dad holding the door. Um, you don't grow up, seeing this kind of good manners, right? So you don't know any better. But like you said, it's important that we have these conversations, because I feel too, Marlene, that um, the equality at times, right? We want to be equal to, we want to be in the same level as. I feel that sometimes that gets confused as, okay, you want to be in the same equal as a pattern as a man or whatever, then you're going to be treated just like one. I don't know if I'm going to step on any toes for saying this. This is my opinion, not Marlene's. Not
Hmm.
Marlene's. I'm just bringing it up because it's always a thought that I have in my head, because of the equality thing. I feel like, okay, you guys want to be treated like us, same level, then, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's how I sometimes feel. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure, right? But
Yeah, Nexie, we're really not sure because you really don't know how
mm-hmm,
somebody else is thinking. But also, I will say too is that, remember, sometimes you are dealing with a little boy or you're dealing with a little girl, because it can go both ways when it comes to disrespect. We look at people and they can be an adult by the government standard, but emotionally, mentally, they're still a little kid. They've never truly matured.
that is true. That can be as well, but the thing that we need to remember is that even if things like this, we don't see them, are not being done, let's do them ourselves if we grew up with it. Let's teach others that, it's okay to behave properly. It's okay to help somebody else. It's okay to be nice to the person sitting next to you. It's okay to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's okay to smile. It's okay to be in the
Mhm.
moment and treat each other, with respect and propriety, because sometimes we forget that.
Yeah. Like I had to learn too to pull back, because most of the people around me, like when I go into work and stuff, people just walk past one another. So I started doing an experiment. Just everybody that I met, look them in the eye, hi, good morning. And like some people would look, some people would say, like some people would look like weirdo, or some people would actually say good morning. So I had to learn that regardless of what other people do has nothing to do with me. You shouldn't
Hmm.
change your standards just because other people don't want to ignore you or think you're weird. Don't compromise your own personal values, because that's the way I was raised, but I kind of got away from it because some people don't want to. They don't want to say good morning, so you stop saying it, but it started making me feel bad. So I've gone back to saying good morning and hello to people. And if they don't respond, that's up to them. But I know
Hmm.
I did what
Yeah,
I
you
was
leave it
supposed
up to them. Exactly,
Yeah.
Marlene. You leave it up, and that's I'm the same way. Anywhere I go, I do the same thing. Hello, good afternoon. Even if people don't answer back, I still do it because that's how I was raised. And
Mhm.
remember, I told you a while back, I think, when I used to go to the riverbed with my bike. Every time I said hi, how you doing? Hello. People would look at me that were either biking or walking, like, what's wrong with this person? And I did that for a long time, Marlene, probably about a month or so of everyday bikings, or every other day. Hi. Now they know me. The minute they see me, they're like, oh, hi, how you doing? Even the little kids, the young kids. Oh,
Oh,
hi, we haven't seen you in a long time. I'm like, I know, right? Bye, have a nice day. They're, the simple hi and bye brings a smile to somebody that is probably in their head at that moment.
yeah.
And it opens them up to learning as well, to say, you know what, maybe it's not so bad, maybe I should say hi and bye.
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe I should adopt this. It sounds nice, it feels good. And you can train people like that as well. Even if you're not having the result that you want right away, eventually everybody starts saying hi, how are you, and not just to you, it goes on to the next one.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, how you doing? So, and work is one of those places, right, Marlene, when they look at you like, what's wrong with you,
Yeah.
why are you so happy today?
Like weirdo, like this one is weird. I remember like and they'll say like if I'm off for a few days, I said, boy, did we miss you. I was like, why? They said because this place was so quiet, nobody said a word.
Ex- exactly, you're making them miss you now. No, but it's true though. When you get used to an environment that people don't say anything, people are just doing their job, and they have that mindset of, I'm just here to get paid and go home. When people do come to a workplace like that, you can tell right away, with their
Mhm.
attitude, the way that they are. But still, even to those people, you saying a hi and a bye, eventually, even their old cold little hearts melt,
Yeah.
and they start saying the same thing back to you.
Yeah, and I had one person who was like a higher up, like, why do you always say hi to me? And I know that you don't really care for me. And I said, because I respect myself and I respect others. I said, it has nothing to do with liking or not liking somebody. It's respectful when you see someone, you greet them.
I'll be like, because you saw my paycheck. I just wanted some. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's true though. A lot of people that are not in that they feel that you don't care or you don't like them. I think that those are the people that we got to be the nicest to, so they can understand that it has nothing to do with whether we like them or not, right?
Hmm.
It's how we are.
Yeah, I
Take it or
said,
leave it.
I always tell people, I said, in business, business has nothing to do with likability. I'm here to do a job, and because we have to do a job together, we need to learn to cooperate. That doesn't mean, oh, we're going to hang out afterwards. It means I'm going to be, what is the word? Amicable, pleasant,
Cordial.
yeah, cordial. That's the word I was looking for. I'm going to be cordial with you so I can deal with you, because it's very uncomfortable to be in a room with somebody you don't even say hi to and
It's
have to
a
do something
very,
important. Yeah, you're like, this is
very uncomfortable.
awkward.
That awkward silence, right? Everybody's looking at each other like, okay, what now?
Yeah, everybody's like, well, I don't want to be the first one to talk.
I have had my moments like that too. I think we all have. I think we all have those moments. But if you want change, to come to whatever it is that you're doing, it can start with you.
Hmm.
It can start with you. You can start, if your nieces and nephews have attitudes or manners that you don't like, you can change them. You can
Hmm.
help them change it. There's nothing wrong with saying hi or bye to everybody or anybody. It's okay. Some people, even if they don't tell you that you're going through something, just a simple hi and bye can make a difference. Being
Exactly.
nice to others, it doesn't cost anything. That's the whole thing, is that I always tell people, this doesn't cost you guys anything.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't cost you anything to just be who you are. It doesn't cost you anything to show people. And sometimes that's how you show people, like, how to make changes, that you don't have to be able to like everybody to be respectful. I don't have to like
Mm-hmm.
you. I don't have to like you to be respectful. I just, simply because you're a human being, I give you the courtesy of, I acknowledge your existence, and then that's it. Move along. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
human.
Exactly. And I tell people, that sometimes is it's easier, um it's easier to, how can I, like, I don't
Easier,
want to.
easier said than done.
No. No, not that. That is easier to be, like, not kind, because that's not the word, but it's easier to be, your, I guess, your true self. Like you said, you were brought up a certain way, right? And to have people change that from you, if makes you feel some kind of way. So it's easier to be your true self. And if that is someone that is always, being polite, always trying to help, always trying to smile, and be cordial, stay that way. It's a lot easier than it is to go the opposite way,
Yeah,
which.
like it's to me, it's harder to be fake, like to pretend and all of that stuff. I can't do that. And I always say it doesn't matter if I like you or not. It doesn't matter if we get along. That has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. You have to
I
know
say,
yourself. I
and
think
to.
that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. But I was just saying something. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry. I forgot to say this one, but I tell in the hospital, I tell my coworkers that it takes more muscles to frown a face than it does to smile.
Hmm.
And in reality, that's scientifically true. It's about 46 or 48, something like that, muscles to frown, and only like 13 or 14 to smile. And I put that ratio on them. They're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, smile is easier than for you to have that face."
Yeah, and it also will stop you from having wrinkles.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna use that one from now.
Yes, I have to tell you from an esthetician's point of view. Yeah, stop frowning. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to give you Botox.
I'm gonna start using them. Marlene said
I
that
don't mind.
you're gonna.
I don't mind.
I said, Marlene says that I'm gonna have to start sending you to a Botox specialist if you continue to use that face here.
I know. And I always say, I say all the time to, the other employees, don't bring your whatever to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always tell them, I said, I'm sorry for whatever it is that you're going through that has led to your, how you feel today. But this is not the environment. You're snapping at people, you're folding your hands like, if you don't want to be here, then don't be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever is causing you to have a not so good day instead. I always tell people, I don't care what is going on in my life, at home, outside of work. I leave everything as soon as I enter the building. Everything stays on that welcoming mat,
Hmm.
because it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. What I'm going through has nothing to do with work. When I leave work, I do the same thing at home. I leave everything at the welcome mat in front of my doorstep, and that's it. It has nothing to do. We have to learn to balance those two, and I think that that's the problem right now. Everything is
Yeah.
going so extreme. You're one pole or the other, and you don't want to go in between. You have to,
Hmm.
because people, when we work, we go there for the same reason you are. We both need to earn money to pay our bills. We're not there because of our health,
Oh, we're not there
right?
for fun.
Exactly. Or just to come see you guys. No, that is the last of my. And so, we have to, that's at workplace. When we go to the store, same thing. We go there because we need to buy things, buy groceries. And you need for me to come here so you can get paid, right? So
Right.
everywhere we go, we have to look at it that way, and it's not, there's nothing wrong with looking at somebody in the eyes. Be nice to that person. It doesn't take that much for you to be kind or be nice. And yeah, you're going to encounter those people that are going to put you in a bad mood sometimes. But right away, you can think about it, let it go and continue on being yourself. Not allow, those negative people to give that negative energy to you. Give it back to them right away.
Exactly. And I always say, Like I'll say somebody who's like come in, they have like a bad attitude, and I say, "Hey, come with me," and it's like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, follow me," and I bring them right outside, and I say, "Okay, go back inside," and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Yeah, so whatever it is that you had going on, leave it out here, and then go back inside." And they look at me and smile, and I just keep walking. Don't bring your problems
That's a
to work.
good way.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be mean, you didn't have to be disrespectful. Just a simple exercise of common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come
And then
on,
I say,
let's
"Hey,
go
come on,
outside.
let's go outside." And then I say, "Okay, now go back inside." They're like, "What?" I say, "Yeah, whatever was going on, that bad attitude, leave it out here and then come back in and say, hi, welcome."
Exactly. And see, I think that sometimes we allowed others to affect our moods, or sometimes it would even what the essence of what we're made of. And I feel that that's where we make the mistake, right? To allow them to get on our safe space. I put repellent on so that I don't have to, so nothing sticks to me. I put Crisco on me so it can just slide off. Because before I was sometimes I would allow people if they had an attitude. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my god, I don't like her and her attitude, or it will transfer to me, and I will find myself with a little bit of an irritation or attitude, and I'll be like, what am I doing? What's
Mhm.
wrong with me? I had to self check. And even if you have to do that many times a day, because again, we're going into places where people are not even close to what our ideals is, right? But we
Mhm.
have to deal with them because we either work there or we shop there or whatever. We have to learn to not allow them to get the best of us and to take
Yeah.
us out of our good manners, um, um, our good perfect fun zone.
Yeah.
Out, out, out.
Yeah. We have to be very careful because I definitely believe in transfer of energy, and people would transfer the good energy or they'll transfer the negative, and you can feel it because the person who's negative, like you feel like, oh man, I just felt so tired. You find yourself yawning, like what is even happening? But that's what it is.
Marlene, how about when you go somewhere or somebody comes and you are happy to go there to get into whatever it is that you're going into, and there is someone that just like in seconds drains everything, and it gets you in that mood, like
Yeah.
and you are the happiest person. Because I've had that experience at work sometimes, not in a couple of, just the one place that I work, because I have like three different places I go to, but the one place I go to, um I will come in the best of mood. And when I will work with this one person in the hospital, no matter how happy I was, in minutes that person will get me in a uncomfortable bad mood. And it was the negativity around this person that was draining me back, like it was draining me out. And one day I was like, I don't understand why it is that she does, because she will come in and say hi everybody, but like the hi with that, like, oh, I can't believe I'm here, right? I didn't
Mhm.
notice that in the beginning. I'll say hi, and whatever. But as the shift went on, I started noticing that her face, even her face was like cross. You could tell she wasn't happy to be there. And and she will come and ask me for something. Oh, can you give me the orders for this? What else? And I think that being so close to you, because you have to be like one on one asking those questions, that's what it was making my mood change.
Mm.
So I started guarding that. I started like saying, hey, smile, you look so much prettier when you smile. You need to learn to talk to people, because she will get people snapping at her all the time, and she will get upset because people were so rude. And I will say, well, you're not rude, right? But your face is something else. I said, maybe that's why people are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And but you have to, sometimes they don't even know, Marlene. That's what I was trying to say, that
Yeah.
they are like that they're doing that.
Yeah, and like some not you don't expect for people to walk around like with a big chested cheetah smile on their face, like because that's abnormal, smiling all day. But but to just be pleasant.
Exactly. You don't have to be, with the grin from ear to ear, but be polite. Be how can I put it? Have
Courteous.
manners, courteous, and have manners. Have your manners. Just be polite. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you either, but we can be polite to each other, right?
Hmm. I always say when it comes to business, I said you don't bring no personal into business. I said we are not here about, oh, but I don't like her, and I said that's good that you guys don't like each other. Use that as some fuel and fire to get this work done. Have a great day, everybody. Yeah,
Oh, man.
I'm not here to babysit. People just are really something in the workplace. Like, I'm not here to
Yes.
babysit. I was like, I thought I stopped working in a preschool.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Uh-oh, I think your mic went out, Nexie.
Oh yeah, high school a long time ago, but it seems like 50-year-old high schoolers. But it is true though. But all of these things that we're talking about, Marlene, and as we're discussing all of these things, is that manners, courtesy, and all of that, it pushes us to the next part of your topic, your word.
Keeping
All
your word.
all this comes together when you have everything in place. It is a lot easier for you to keep it,
Yeah.
right?
It's so much easier. Well, the whole thing is that when you start off with manners, courtesy, all of that means respect. You respect
Mm-hmm.
yourself and you respect others. And that's usually the issue with the first two. Because if you don't respect yourself, you can't respect others. And that also applies with keeping your word. When I know that I can't do something, I'm going to say maybe, or I'm not sure. That's the thing that's very important to me. Um, what did my mom used to always say? There's a lot of things that you may not have, but the thing that you should always have is people should be able to rely on you. You should be
Mm-hmm.
dependable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been staying with me my whole life. Be a dependable person. Keep your word. And if you know you can't do something, say, that's not something that I can agree to because I know I won't make it. And people
Mm-hmm.
will respect you for that.
Exactly, and that's the thing, though. And the reason why I say that, having all these things in place first brings you up to, keeping your word and everything, is because I sometimes dislike someone, or I sometimes didn't want to say hi or a good afternoon or a goodbye to someone because I didn't like. And I will sometimes be with my dad and say, "Oh, I don't like her." I'm not going to say anything. My dad would say, "Good evening." And then I wouldn't say anything. And my dad said, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you, why were you polite to her? So, because I don't like her. And he will say, okay, that's fine, but she greeted us. She said hi to us. And, keeping respect for you and keeping the manners for you is answering when somebody asks you a question or somebody addresses you somehow. That's keeping respect for you as well,
Hmm.
you know. And I look at my dad like, what? Yeah, he said, you didn't answer. That means you're impolite, you're rude. Is that who you are? No? Okay, then. Respect yourself. And if you want that back, you have to give it back, even if you don't like that person. She probably doesn't even know you don't like her.
Hmm.
And you haven't even talked to her enough for you to know if you like her or not. So always, respect yourself first. And that will radiate towards others. But always acknowledge whoever talks to you, because if you don't, then you're losing respect. I was
Yeah.
like, huh?
Yeah. That's a good lesson that your dad taught you, because
Yes.
sometimes you don't learn that until you get way older, and the
And
older people are not going to be as gentle with you.
no, no, you don't learn that until somebody teaches you, Marlene.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Sometimes you don't learn that until somebody calls you off and you're like, oh, you know what? Yes, that's exactly what I did. And I'm so sorry. As far as keeping your word, I think, it's the only, probably the only wealth that I have in this world is probably going to be my word. If I cannot do something, or first and foremost is, if I don't want to do something, Marlene, even if I have the time and I can, I won't,
Mm,
because I'm not going to be able to do it with kindness, with willingness, or with respect towards you. So if I know that I don't want to, I'd rather say I can't. I'm not going to say I don't want to, but I can say I can't, right? I cannot do it. I'm sorry. But I'd rather say that than give a maybe, or I don't know, I'll let you know. I can't do that. I'd rather say no, I can't. I'm sorry. Now, to the people that I love and can count on me for anything, I always keep my word. I always want to be that person that you can count on, that you can come to if you need anything.
right.
Losing that, I think it will make me lose a lot more than money can buy.
Yeah, I always say that, if somebody is not important to you, you'll just do anything. When you actually value the relationships that you have, you respect people, you act different. You treat people differently based on how you feel about them. If you respect somebody, you care about them, you respect their ideas and who they are as a person, you're going to treat them that way. So that's the reason why, if you don't care about somebody, you don't like them, why you act that way. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop you from keeping your word. Don't say you're
Hmm.
going to do something and then you don't. Because I even hear on YouTube people, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this stream. I'm going to do this topic. I'm going to do whatever. And you're like, it's 3 months and you still haven't heard anything.
It's true. It's true. That is so true. Or it in at home too, like when you need something and they agree with you and you make plans, right? And that's what we have to put ourselves at, is that you have all these plans and you have to be somewhere, and this person has given you their word but they don't show up.
Mm,
Those things are that, you will never count on that person ever again, right? So you
mhm.
have to think of it that way. Like, for me, having the your trust is more important than anything, tangible from you. You giving me
Yeah.
your trust is super important, you know so I like to keep my word so that I can keep your trust.
Yeah, I would always rather somebody just tell me I don't like that, or whatever it is, like be honest up front than to say, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," and then they show up there and they have an attitude, or I only did it because I should, but they never said it. They were honest with you from the beginning. So also part of keeping your word is knowing the things that you actually want to do and do them, and say no to the things that are not in line, or the things that you don't like, say no to them.
Exactly. Be honest. Be honest with the people that matter to you, right? That's the whole thing, is that you have to be honest with the people that you care for and care for you, because you lose a lot more than you gain by not keeping your word. And like I said, for me, that's important. It's very important to have those, to allow people the how can I the my friendship without restrictions.
Yes.
Now if I cannot do something, I'll be honest and I said I can't. And if we're close friends or we're very very good friends and I don't want to, I will be honest. I said I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than lie. I said nope, I don't want to do that. I really don't, and I don't do it.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have
Or
to
I
make
don't want
sure.
to go there. Or like if you have some people in your life. I'm sorry, next. I didn't mean
No,
to
no,
cut
no,
you
go
off.
for it, go for it.
Okay. Um, if you have some people in your life that you care about, it should be open for you to be like, oh, I don't like something. You shouldn't feel that you have to be forced into doing something to make other people happy. Like the expense is, your freedom or your peace of mind. Like you're there supporting somebody, but they already know that you don't like a certain sport or whatever, but you want them there. I feel like that's something that's like unfair too, and not expecting people that don't want to be there to support you.
Mm. And again, in friendships and in relationships as family and everything, um, we have to understand that we're not gonna like everything all the time and always together, right? There's certain things also as friends and family come is that we don't like to do, but sometimes because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, we masks kind of like, I don't know, maybe. I think it's better for you to be honest and say, you know what, I really don't like that game.
Hmm. Yeah, it's best for not only you but also them, because it's better to just tell somebody in your life,
Watch
I
over
don't
you.
like that.
But
I
you
don't
go
want to
ahead,
do.
have fun. Or be honest. It's better to be honest with, no, don't be disrespectful. That's not what I'm saying, right? But it's better for you to be honest, but that person will respect you more and it will probably count with you more if you're honest.
Yes, Nexie. That is so true. It's so important to be honest, to, you know, like as a wrap up, in talking about this whole conversation about, manners. Manners is something that there are some that weren't raised with any manners, because of their, the situation that they had in their home, but they turn out to be the most respectful people, right? And then there's
Hmm.
also those who have never been courteous, in their environment. They turn out to be courteous. So it's not always necessarily that people are where they came from, because people can be surrounded by terrible people and turn out to be wonderful.
That is true. That is so true. I have had colleagues of mine that when I meet, the rest of the family, I'm in awe on how different these individuals are. How much they have come, um, how can I say, like, um, how have they changed their lives completely? How they have learned, manners and respectfulness and everything, because you see the parents or you see the family unit and you're like, oh my God, how did you turn out this good or disrespectful or you know what I mean? Like it leaves you in awe. So yeah, your upbringing, has a lot to do, but from 18 on, it's up to you what you want to do with you. So
Yeah.
if manners is what you want, what you like, what you want to learn, you'll do them. You'll learn them. You'll
Mhm.
master them. It's up to you.
And Nexie, I can say that that's for sure true, because I I used to see, like, I saw a good example of chivalry and all those things, but the environment, how my relatives talked to each other, it wasn't good. But I knew for myself I didn't want to be like that as an adult. So I
Hmm.
made the choice to change it and said, like, I don't like that. So we can't use things and make it an excuse and say, this is how I was raised, this is all I know. Well, if that's what you know, you need to change it.
And yesterday, like not tomorrow, it has to
Yeah.
be changed. But again, that's when you become a grown adult. a mature adult, these are the things that you take into consideration, right? Because if not, life will make you take them into consideration. You always have to know what you like and don't like. You have to change in you first,
Exactly.
right? Before you can pay it forward, as they say. Now, we both come from similars and different backgrounds, right? At the same time, your life was this way, my life was the other way, but we had a lot of things in common growing up. And a lot of our families, manners, respect, and all of this is taught. It's a must. You have to have that, or you'll get
Yeah, or you're gonna get what did they say? You're gonna get a slap of everything. We used to get licks. I don't know. Maybe I'm
it.
aging
Oh,
myself.
no, all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say is you're gonna get the pow pows. That's all I'm gonna say. You'll get the pow pows, Marlene, if you don't do it. So now we can't do that, right? We cannot go there for whatever reason. People are not doing that anymore. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's not done anymore. That's okay. But you can talk to people and by action show them exactly what you're talking about. I've had little kids that by the time they leave, where my table or whatever they're at, they're calling me, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, no problem. As before, I want that. I want this. I want that. No, please. No, can I please? Or can you please? Nothing. You just want. So I will teach them right then and there. And by the couple of hours or so, oh, thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Yeah, and even I can't end this conversation and talk about manners and not say something about this that disturbs me so much is hearing little kids calling adults by their first names. Um, have
Mm-mm.
to acknowledge this. I was like, I know that, maybe it steps on other people's toes because there are some that come from the reasoning that, well, your name is actually Marlene. And I said, yes,
Mm.
as an adult that has lived some years, I'm not going to have a 4-year old look up at me and call me Marlene. I said, my name is Miss Marlene. And their parents are like, what? I
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, I am Miss Marlene. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, it's the same thing. It's the upbringing. Or Marlene, another thing. When they're calling their aunts or uncles so and so
Mm-hmm.
by their names. Not, auntie, uncle. No, no, by their names. And
Oh, I
I
hear that.
I
I actually hear kids calling their parents by their first name. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, I almost had an instant heart attack. I was like, oh, oh, what? What did you just say? No
yeah,
way.
I had one of my great nieces um call me by my name,
Mm-hmm.
and her mom looked at her and said, "You better rectify that right now. That's my aunt so and so. You better call her like that too." Because I looked at her like my by my name, and my niece just jumped on her and said, "You better apologize and call her auntie." And she's like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And then she started calling me auntie.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I have to say also with that too, Nexie, is that we have to also acknowledge that, when you send your children out to school every day, they have a lot of peer pressure. And the kids will test the boundaries and, oh, I don't have to say that. I call my mom this, I call my auntie that, I call my grandma, and then they come home and they test it out. So one of the things that I learned from my parents is at school, how they deal with you in school is how they deal with you in school. In this house, these are the rules.
Yeah, I slapped it out of them. Yeah, that's what I did. You said what? Pa! You okay? Okay, no more school. Okay, cool. You're back at home. Yeah, all right then. No, you have to teach them because it's true. Or What about if their little friend calls their uncle and auntie by their name and their mom and dad by their names? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you're playing with this little, so you want it, like you said, you want to say, "Oh, that sounds so cool. They're such cool friends." Her mom and dad, they allow them to go by their name, and I'm like, not in my house,
Yeah.
not in
I
my
always,
house.
I always tell people, I said, they can do what they want to in their house, but when you come in this house, you already know the rules.
Exactly. And it's not even that you're doing it because you want to be difficult. You're doing them so you're training them so life doesn't teach them.
Mm-hmm.
When they lose jobs, they lose opportunities because they don't know how to behave. They don't
Yeah.
know the proper ways to respect others, the proper way to talk to people, because it doesn't just stay at the home front, Marlene. These little individuals are going to grow up and go out into the world. And regardless of what anybody else says, once you're applying for a job, the Mr., the Mrs., the Miss comes a very long way. That's the
Yes.
difference between me hiring you and giving you the boot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even saying certain things like, I know it's something that people just think is, oh, that doesn't matter, but it does. In saying thank you so much for helping me, I appreciate that, or I'm sorry and excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of manners, having that with people that you have to deal with on a regular basis, it's going to make people either want to be with you or not want to be with you at all.
Exactly. And your kids, I know that your kiddos, Marlene, they still small, right? The little
Mm-hmm.
ones in your house are still small. So but I have grown up kids, right? And there's been incidents on when in an elevator. Let me give you an example. And my one of my kids, it was like five people in the elevator. We're going to floor number 4, and my one of my kids says, "Press floor, press number 4." And I swear to God, the minute that the people looked at him like, what? And I said, "Can you please press for me?" And they did, and I said, "Thank you." And we got out of the elevator. I grabbed my son by his arm. I put him on the side of from the elevator to the side, and I said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" "What?" I said, "What do you mean, what?" I said, "I didn't bring you up like this. What the heck is wrong with you? Be more
Mm-hmm.
respectful, at least when you're in front of me." And he looked at
Wow.
me. "I'm sorry, Mom." I'm like, "No, you're not. That's the worst thing, is that you're not, rude ass."
Yeah, they don't care.
Oh, no, no, no. He did. He's like, "I'm sorry, Mom." And then when we're coming back, there was another couple in the elevator. "Can you please press 1?"
Yeah, he learned quick. You're like, mm-hmm,
No,
that's
Marlene, my
right.
kids, I don't care how old they are. I don't care. As long as they're with me, I thought in respect. And I don't
Mhm.
care how old they are. They still gonna treat people and me with respect when they're in front of me. I don't care. And I don't play that. And they know that. My kids know that. I don't play. To
Yeah.
this day, Marlene, they have never, I think once or twice, they said something like, "I already told you." I'd be like, "What did you say?" But at this point, I'm in front of their faces, right? "Oh, I mean, I already said that to you, Mom. Remember the other day?"
Yeah.
And I
Well,
don't hit
that,
them or anything like that. But I have respected them and showed them that, I don't yell at them. I don't raise my voice at them.
yeah, I don't
I'm not
disrespect you.
disrespectful. And how dare you? And I don't care how tall, how old. I'll jump high. You're tall, I'll jump really high. But you're getting a slap.
Oh my goodness.
But you have to teach them. And this was recent too. And you have to teach them because you don't, if not, life is going to teach them. When I saw these people looking at my son the way they did in that elevator, my blood was boiling, Marlene. Because if that would have been an employee, of mine or someone that worked with me, I would have sent them home, right?
Right, exactly.
So I grabbed them, and he was like, "What?" I said, "Get over here." And then I gave him a piece of my mind, and I said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Oops,
Right?
sorry, should have not said that. But you have to correct the mistake right then and there. You don't wait for 2 to 3 days to go by. You have to rectify that. And he apologized. I don't know what was wrong with me. I said, "Okay, that's fine. You already said that 3 times." It's like, "No, Mom, I just need you to understand. I'm very, very sorry." I said, "Oh, I understand. I get it." But I wasn't going back to normal because I was still upset of the way he behaved. Like a hoodlum, little brat.
Yeah. So
Mm-mm.
sometimes I think because once kids start getting older, they think, oh, they know better, they're smarter than you, all kinds of things. Well, I know, I'm speaking from experience. I knew I was smarter than my mom. I knew it. So that's all there was
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, of course, Marlene. Of course you was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And until I got pals and
No, no, not what I said. You thought you was. Yep, of
yeah.
course you did. She allowed you to think that you were smarter than her.
No, she didn't allow me.
You get the pow pow.
I got the pow pows. What they used to do back in the day in the Batman cartoons, pow bang.
Yeah, and then you see the little stars.
Yep,
Did you see
all
the
the stars came
stars?
out.
I
Yeah.
did that to my sister once, Marlene, and it was so funny because my friend would do it to her mom, like, ah, that. Ah. So I did that to my sister, but I did it very low. I didn't think she heard me, right? And she was asking me to do the dishes, and I was like, oh, and then bam, I felt the back of her hand in my mouth.
Oh my
And I was
goodness.
like, "What did you just do?" She's like, if you want to throw kisses at me, it's better if you give them to me on my cheek. Stop smacking, blowing those
Wow.
kisses." And my dad looked at her like, "Did you just hit her?" And I was in shock because my sister had never done that to me, but I was behaving very, very disrespectful. I was. And I was kind of like hanging out with this other girl that her mom will say something and she'll be like, "Ah, whatever." So I was becoming,
Oh.
the influence, that little influence that we get
Yep.
sometimes. So yeah, she pow pow me. I saw the little stars.
Oh. Yep.
Never again, Marlene. Ever again did I do that. Ever.
Yep. My mom used to say, if you don't want to meet your maker, you won't do it again. Then you're gonna. Yep.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
And she didn't mean God. She meant her. If you want to if you want to meet
Yep.
your maker, which is me.
Yep. That's true. So,
But it,
but it's just the things that you do because you see, I used to, just like you, have associates who, oh, I would see what they would say to their parents and they got away with it. So I was like, well, mom, Mary's mom does this or Tom's dad
mm.
does that. And my mom would be like, oh, really? So you want to go live with them? She said, good. I want to take care of you. I was like, no, no, I like it here. Yeah, good.
Yeah, my kids will do that to me too. Can I want to start coloring my hair. Nope, you're too young. But so and so's mom allows her to. I go, why don't you ask her if she can adopt you? That way you and your good friend are going to be colored the same hair at
Yep.
the same place. Ask her if she can adopt you. You want to give me up for adoption?
No. My whole thing is all I cared about when I was younger was wearing makeup. That was
Mm.
my whole existence. From I was probably 6 years old, all I thought about was lipstick. I cut it out in magazines. Oh, I dreamed about the day.
Nope.
Yep,
Nope.
yep. I
Not.
dreamed of the day, and oh my God, when I turned 14, I was like, "You can't stop me today."
Did you get stopped?
Nope, I did not get stopped.
Oh, no, 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 no. My kids would have been stopped right then and there. Really? You're so funny. Are you moving out at 14? Because that's the only way you're going to be able to put that makeup on.
Yeah. Well, my mom had always told us, all the girls, you can wear lipstick when you turn 14. That's all I wanted. So I wore my lipstick when I turned 14,
Oh,
even though
your
I
little
didn't.
lipstick. Oh, okay. Now
Yeah.
that's different. I thought like full makeup at
Oh
14.
no, no, no! I never did that. All I wanted was lipstick. Mom was like,
Yeah.
"No way." She said, "You don't get lipstick till you go to high school."
Oh, did you read what Gio said?
What did I say? I am your mama, not those other kids' mamas.
No, Gio. I was sending him up for adoption. I wanted to set up the application and everything, but the other mamas didn't want them.
No, my mom tried. My mom said, "I'll pack your bags right now." I said, "What's their address?" What? I was like, "What? Huh?" I was like, "You're just gonna get rid of me?" And my brother was like, "Oh, I got her room."
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm telling you, my eldest one is the one that. Oh my God, that kid. That was my Marlene,
Yeah.
my
Yep.
drama queen. Whew.
Excuse me. I
Sorry,
was
Marlene.
not
I had to
dramatic
go
like I
there.
always said. I was not dramatic. I just felt I had a lot of emotions and feelings.
I'm sure you did. So did that one. And she will always, like, whenever she didn't, we wouldn't allow her to do something because of, again, the peer pressure and her friends. I can't wait until I'm 18. Can get out of this. Oh,
Uh-oh, your mic went out, Nexie.
so many. She turned 18 at midnight. I packed her back. Do you want me to call you a cab or do I give you a ride to your new place?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she didn't move out. The other two were looking at me like, "You're really going to send her away, Mom? Really?" I'm like, "She's 18. She said she was going to move out. So I'm packing her bags." So the other kids were quiet.
Yeah.
They were never dumb enough to say things like that.
No, I used to hear my older siblings said it, so I never said it. I was like, nope. I said, nope, nope, I'm living here forever.
Oh no, what a curse.
Yeah, and my mom was like, oh, great.
But again, even those little rules, they taught you a lot, Marlene. You had to wait until you were a certain age. That's a beautiful thing because you don't have, that freedom of doing whatever you want at such an early age. Those are milestones that you remember forever, right? When you put your first
Ew.
lipstick or color lipstick or whatever. And my girls, same thing. They had to go through certain milestones. You're too young to do that, or you're too young for that chemical in your head. Just give it a few more years. So, and those milestones are good because they teach you. We're not understanding at the moment, but what we're trying to do with you guys is, to teach you to be patient, to have a certain restrictions, obey the law in different ways. That's exactly what we're doing. Giving you everything, allowing you kids to do everything. Then there's no boundaries. There's no rules in set. There's no manners set. Right?
Yeah. And I always used to say to my mom, like, why won't you let me? Why won't you let me? And I remember when I went to school that day and I had my the lipstick on and I'm waiting for everybody to say, oh my God, Marlon, do you have a lipstick? Nobody said a word to me. Oh, I was like, hi everybody. Everybody's just looking at me talking. I was like, notice anything different? All my friends, nobody said a word. I was like, oh, you guys are terrible. Don't you see how changed I am? How grown up? And they're like, no, what happened? And I was like, I'm wearing lipstick. They're like, okay. And let me just say, I don't care about embarrassing myself. Let me tell you, it was the worst lipstick that you could ever have. It was that frosty pink lipstick that they used to get, like the Barbie pink.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
like you could see from a mile away.
Yep, that bright
Oh,
pink. Oh, I know that I probably look like a clown, but I
but you had lipstick on.
but I had lipstick on. I was like, who eyes grown now?
I used to surprise my girls at school, right? I used to show up at odd times of the day just to say hi to them. So they knew they were not supposed to be wearing makeup or anything like that. They learned
Oh,
very early on. I would just show up. Oh, mom, you're here. I will see my daughter, the eldest one, cleaning her eyes, right? Because I guess her friends would bring eyeshadows. And I will
oh,
see her, like, because the principal will call them, so and so, come to the front office. Your mom is waiting. I think the principal was kind enough to warn them.
oh.
So then I
I
will see
never
my,
had
my
it. I
daughter
never
take.
had anything like that. But you know, the worst part is when you have siblings. All your siblings know things and they use it as leverage. Hey, show mom what you have in your backpack. Like if I was changing my clothes, because I was like, no.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But again, all these things, because you have to follow certain things at home, they give you that, again, follow your rules, have manners, be respectful of what others ask from you. So all these things are important. And as much as we hate to say that it doesn't start at home, right? I'm sorry, that it starts at home, and we don't want to admit that that's where it starts. And as we get grown ups, there's a different story, but it does start at home.
It does. It does start at home. And that's why, I love having conversations like this, and talking about this manners, courtesy, keeping your word. All of it's important, not only in your childhood into your adulthood, but also in all your relationships. And people need to really learn to have manners to other people. That could be the reason why you're struggling or having certain issues with other people, not because of other people, but because of you.
Mm, exactly. And you know how some people, I don't know why, I keep on like losing jobs, or why I can't, they give me hope, and then, you know they call me back and say, I'm sorry, the position has been filled, or we don't have that for you right now. And they don't understand why. Sometimes it's, remember, we call for references, and we
Mhm.
don't just go on how many days you skip. We go all the way. Your attitude, of course, your attendance, your manners. We go through everything when we're questioning your ex-employer.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, not having this in place, not following certain things, is going to damage you more than it's going to benefit you. So why not just, continue to, even if we're having a bad day, Marlene, even if when I'm having the worst of days, I always say hi, good morning, good afternoon, and smile, because it has nothing to do with others, what you're going through.
Exactly. Exactly. It has nothing to do with anybody. Like, don't take your problems and take it out on anybody else. So it's a learning thing. It's a
Hmm.
learning thing. Mhm.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. It is. I'm so happy we had this conversation. We had fun with it.
Yeah, we definitely had fun today. So those who have been here from the beginning heard the
All the nonsense we were talking.
if you missed the beginning, boy, oh well, you'll have to replay.
You do have to. It was all Marlene's doing.
Yep,
I was
all
a
Nexie's
saint.
doing, all Nexie's. So thank you so
Oh,
much, Nexie.
thank you for having me, Marlene, and for bringing, like I said before, awesome topics. And, I like the fact that, we can actually freely talk about these things, and hopefully, educate someone in the process. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Nexie. And thank you to everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of Love Marlene 411. I appreciate all you loved ones. Remember, like I always say, respect yourself, respect your thoughts, and your ideas and have the hard conversations, especially the ones that we don't want to. And I also have to say, remember, Monday to Friday, I have the Halos podcast, which uploads at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday. So check that out as well. The Sip and Chat. And also, I do a From My Heart podcast every now and then. Make sure you turn on your notification bell. And if you're listening in the replay and you have not already, hit the bell, subscribe to this channel, and if you would like to support Love Marlene 411, you can do so by Cash App and joining channel membership. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and shout out to my wonderful co-host, Miss Nexie.
Thank you for that, Marlene. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye, guys. Bye, loved ones. I'll see
Yeah,
you
bye,
guys.
loved ones.
Bye, loved ones.